Back to work, back to work. I know that weekend always flies right by, though, right? I think we're the only people on the planet that look forward to Monday morning, right? Aren't we? Anyways, guys, welcome back. Monday evening, time to get back to work. 31st day of January 2022, end of the month. Get a new month coming in, and boy, welcome back. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, as always, my name is Joseph. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades setting up for tomorrow. That's Tuesday, the first of a brand new month. A brand new month usually means lots of volatility. Looking forward to that tomorrow. We get some big news tomorrow, both early in the session and towards the end. And boy, we got some big moves on the charts today. So always expecting some great trades the following day. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades tonight in this video. We'll also talk about some stuff to avoid to keep yourself out of trouble, keep yourself in the green to start off a brand new month. And of course, whether you're trading on your own or you're trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. Before we jump in and get this party going, got a lot of trades I'm watching for tomorrow. Got some pullback trades, some reversal trades here, some breakouts. We'll cover all the details. Before we jump in though, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. You know, I publish this video with my best trade ideas for the following day every night on this channel. So make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell icon because a lot of this stuff is very time sensitive, right? So subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll get notified tomorrow night when I publish tomorrow night's video. Also, if you guys have any questions for me, drop those questions in the comments section. Don't be shy. I would love to answer any questions that you might have along the way. And if you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoy making it, if you guys enjoyed this nightly newsletter, do me a favor, hit that like button for me. Appreciate you guys tuning in, carving out some time, and supporting this YouTube channel by hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. But enough of the intro though, right? Time is ticking. Let's get ready for not just Tuesday, but a brand new month of February is right around the corner. Now, what are we going to do here for tomorrow? Well, we get a bunch of really big moves up, right? Big move up on the Nasdaq, big move up on the S&P. We've also got a pretty big move up here on the oil, but these are definitely not the same situation. The S&P and the Nasdaq both had really nice bull moves here, right? So obviously we'd love to buy some dips, right? We'd love to buy some pullbacks here on the S&P and the Nasdaq. But I'll tell you though, buying pullbacks is a very simple way to describe the plan for tomorrow. There are Anytime we see such a big move like this, there are two possible scenarios, two likely scenarios that I want to make sure I'm ready for, and we'll make sure you are ready to capitalize and make some money on those pullbacks for tomorrow. So we're going to talk about those two scenarios, kind of two different situations, two setups, if you will, that you're not going to want to miss on Tuesday. And then over here on the crude oil, as you can see, we're obviously bullish on oil. But I'll tell you though, there's a range below us. There's a bunch of levels of resistance here. Now, I definitely think there's some money to make on the buy side tomorrow. I'll talk about that tonight. But I'm looking for shorts. I'm looking for shorts going back down into that trading range. So, when is it safe to buy it? When is it safe to sell it? Not to worry. I'm going to break this all down. I'm going to make sure you're prepared and ready to go for Tuesday's trading session. Got a lot to cover tonight in the video. Before we jump in though, into the charts, speaking of Tuesday, let's take a look at the schedule here for tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is a brand new month. Now, whenever we transition from the end of the month into a brand new month, there's always kind of two things on my mind. One is volatility. Anytime we transition from a new week or a new month or a new quarter or new year, there's always a little bit of that volatility that comes in. So we definitely expect to see an increase in volatility, which means usually a little bit wider stops, a little bit wider targets, a little bit slower time frames. We'll cover more of that tomorrow in the trade room, obviously. The second thing is we know the big news of the week is the first Friday of the month, right? That's non-farm Friday, arguably one of the most important news reports we get as traders. So brand new week, right? Brand new month, which means increased volatility. And of course, we get the employment number that first Friday of a brand new month. Now, that's not going to affect us too much tomorrow for the employment number, but make sure you stay with me here this week because we'll talk about how by the end of the day on Wednesday, we'll have to start worrying about Thursday into Friday's news. We'll obviously talk more about that later on in the week. What do we have here for tomorrow? The two main things you want to be aware of for tomorrow are going to be the ISM manufacturing report. As you can see, there's a whole slew of news here here, right around that 9:45, 10 o'clock, top of the hour there. The most important number tomorrow is the ISM. The JOLTS report is a very close second place. They're right on top of each other. And so you have to think that 10 o'clock tomorrow really has potential to be a very explosive time of the day. And keep in mind, we are not going to be trading the actual news, right? News is noise. It's illiquid. It's dangerous. So what we always do, we always wait till about 10:05, 10:08, 10:09, something like that. By 10:10, 10:15, I'm usually right on it, finding that first trade after the news comes out. So definitely keep an eye on that 10 o'clock tomorrow. And then don't forget, we are kind of knee deep in earnings season right now. Tomorrow, after the close, we're going to hear from Google, or as they now call it, Alphabet, right? That's going to be obviously affecting the Nasdaq late in the day tomorrow. So if you're an NQ trader like we are, you definitely want to be aware of that towards the end of the day tomorrow, right? So the last couple hours of the day tomorrow might be a little bit hairy, if you will, right? Kind of prickly on the Nasdaq, if you will, just because of that big, again, it's not called Google anymore. It's called Alphabet. But I figured if I said Alphabet, you go, who? Right? So Google, obviously, Alphabet. Their earnings reports are coming out end of the day, after the close tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we got Facebook earnings, or Meta, right? They call them now. Amazon, I think Amazon's still called Amazon, right? They're on Thursday. And then, of course, we got the non-farm payrolls on Friday. But that's the kind of the most important stuff for tomorrow, right? As you can see, it might be a little bit of a slower start tomorrow. Hopefully I'm wrong with that big news at 10 o'clock. Definitely, if you could only be at your desk for an hour tomorrow, that 9:45 to 10:45, 10 to 11 will really be a great time to be with us tomorrow morning in our trade room and paying attention. And also, don't forget, we open our trade room up every morning at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll put all the membership links, anything I talk about tonight, I'll put all the details for you guys down in the description of the YouTube video. I'll also put some buttons for you below me tonight on the website. All right. So if you guys have any questions, comment section below, or again, grab the links to the trade room, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll get the charts updated and ready for that 10 o'clock news. Let's get back to our charts, though, because we got a lot to cover in tonight's video. A lot of bulls, right? A lot of bullishness in the markets right now. The Fed, I think, kind of talked themselves back off the ledge, raising rates. And so, of course, everybody likes to hear the rates being kept low right now, right? Got a big push last Friday, and of course it took off and just really kind of ran higher and higher, here today. S&P and the Nasdaq are very similar. We'll do a good job at breaking those down. Oil, again, at first glance, oil looks very similar, but it's definitely not. We'll talk about the one big reason why it's not the same market once we get to that chapter here of this video here tonight. Why don't we grab the S&P first? Let's grab the S&P. There's going to be a little bit of overlap between the S&P and the Nasdaq because they're so very similar. What are the most important things affecting this market right now? I think the most important thing in this chart right now is just the strength of this move higher. There was very little you could do to get a deep pullback today. That pullback at whatever 215 or so, that was the deepest pullback we got pretty much all day here today. So whenever you see this much strength in one direction, you know what I mean? You got to think there's a big bullseye right back at that high, and buyers would love to come in, right, and gobble up any deep pullback that we see right now and retest those highs. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I see a move like this, right? We pretty much just kept, very strong move. Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, the odds are very, very good we're going to retest that high at some point tomorrow. Now, the second thing that I notice is the sheer size of this move, right? It's not a small move whatsoever, right? You can definitely see this is a very large move. And anytime we see a really large move in one day, the following day oftentimes produces either a trading range, right? Sideways range up here, or a deep pullback. And sometimes we get both, right? Sometimes we get a range and a deep pullback. As you can imagine, buyers want to buy low. And if they can't really get the hooks into things, right, at a really low price, they're going to wait for that nice deep pullback. Again, it possibly could be a range here for tomorrow as well. So as you can see, kind of put those two things together, right? Big move in one day says anticipate a range or a deep pullback. Strong move higher says they're going to probably retest this high here. It's a relatively straightforward approach here for tomorrow. The buyers would love to buy some dips here right now. They love to buy some dips. And if we keep going higher, here, the buyers have this juicy range up here. Remember, ranges are magnets. So we got 45.70. That's going to be that probably is the biggest objective here. We got some small stuff, some 45.20. That's a little bit of resistance there, but there's a range up there at 45.70 before we start going into some major tops up there around 4600. So we know where the buyers would like to get in. We know what they'd like to have accomplished here right now. The sellers really have to stay patient. If I want to be a seller on this right now, I either want to wait for a retest of that high and then look for a reversal off the high. We'll talk about this obviously in more detail as we go deeper. Or if the sellers can get their hooks in this thing, if they can get this thing to reverse, I think there definitely are some pretty easy shorts on this back into that range here where we came from, really early at the beginning of the week to finish off the month. So again, buyers have all momentum. The sellers really got to stay patient right now, and I want to buy a pullback, right? I want to buy a pullback. The two most likely pullbacks, right? Now we talk about 4 different pullbacks on this newsletter quite a bit. The two most likely pullbacks right now are either going to be what we call a two-legged pullback, where of course we pull back off the high, we draw a trend line off that high, we get up and over and go, right? We call these two-legged pullbacks because of one leg, two leg. That's very, very common whenever we get a deep pullback off the high, right? That's one kind of pullback setup I'm looking for tomorrow. What is another likely scenario is we get that deep pullback with all of that strength coming down off those highs, let those bears try twice. We call these try failure patterns, right? Bears try once, bears try twice. Remember, the odds are very good. We're going to go back up and retest that high here. Think about if we get underneath the moving average, nice strong pullback. Bears try once, bears try twice. Then where are the stops, right? Where are the stop losses from those sellers? That's where you want to be thinking about getting in, right? Now, there's a lot of different ways we can take this trade. My favorite way to do it is a little trap below that low, right? A little trap setup below that low. Sometimes we get lucky and we get like something like this where it'll be like there's now a trend line coming off that low, right? 2, and now we've got a combination of that trend line support, stops are above that high, and we can now, of course, buy as we go higher. Now, there's usually a follow-up trade to this two-try failure, oftentimes because it kind of fools so many bears down here, we're buying again that two-try failure, and then looking for a little trap setup, right, as we go back up again to retest those highs here. Two-try failure, right, into that trap setup. Now, we talk about these in pretty good detail in that free trading course you guys have taken. And remember, if you haven't taken that yet, I know most of you guys have already grabbed the free course, you've learned all the setups, and I'm getting a lot of emails from you guys every day about how you're using them in your own trading, and it's just so great to see everybody succeeding with it all. If you haven't taken the free trading class yet, and you want to learn the actual entry setups, when to take them, when to skip them, the rules we use, what I'll do is I'll put a little link up here. I'll put a little pop-up there for you in the upper right-hand corner, right? And that'll give you that'll help you get registered for that free trading course. You'll see hundreds of examples of those entry patterns. You'll get the complete roadmap that we follow in our trade room every day at the opening bell. So definitely grab that little pop-up there. You're gonna love it. I've had so much positive feedback from it over the years. So hope you enjoyed it as much as people have in the past. So we know what the pullback looks like. Now, how do we sell it as a pullback though? At what point does a pullback turn into a reversal? Well, they have to hold the pullback and they have to jump, right? So we got to hold the pullback and jump. Now, what happens a lot of times is you'll get underneath the moving average. The bears will come in. They'll try to sell it. It'll fail, right? A lot of times we pull back, right? The bears will come in. They'll go, right? They'll try and they'll fail. We'll go right back up again. That's, again, what I'm looking for here tomorrow. But let's say, though, the bears can actually hold that pullback. Let's say now the bears can hold it and they jump off that moving average. here's what you want to remember. At this point now, that big range down there, you got to think that's where everybody wants to get to, right? That's where everybody wants to be back to that, 44, 19 and 3/4 is pretty much where last week ended and this week began. That would be the objective, if you will, right, for the bears here. Now, once we see that 1, 2, 3 reversal pattern, they jump off the moving average. Now, mark that low, mark that high, right? Find the new channel off the lows there. Think about where the prior swings are. Okay, this is usually where the money is. Get right above that prior swing. That'll put us just above the moving average. Grab your trap set up. Grab your failure set up. Grab your pullback set up, right, off the high of that channel. Again, I'm just simply kind of illustrating them right now. Trap, failure, pullback, right? But if you take that free trading course, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. So again, we know where the market wants to go, but keep this in mind too. The size of this first leg will probably be equal to this leg over here. Okay? Trends love to go 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg, and the size of the first leg is oftentimes symmetrical to the size of the third leg. Okay, so if we do get that reversal off the high here right now, the size of that first leg is almost always how big that third leg will be. All right, that'll give you a good idea of where to, again, we got a pretty good idea of where the market wants to go, that 19 and 3/4, but this will help you kind of fine tune, right, where that target is going to be here. Now, we may go sideways here. If we go sideways, let's talk about that game plan on the NASDAQ. All right, let's talk about how to trade if it goes higher and if it goes sideways on the NASDAQ. We know where the S&P wants to go, right? It wants to get up around that 45.70, 45.60. Let's go to the NASDAQ though, because the NASDAQ is very, very similar to this. I'm not going to repeat myself a bunch of times here. It's very, very similar. So we'll talk about if the NASDAQ goes higher or if it goes sideways here as well. Let's grab the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, you can see, is very, very similar, right? There are two main components in this chart right now. One is the strength of this move. Anytime we see it, look at the strength of that last move. It's a very strong move, right? Whenever they separate off the moving average, really get some separation off the moving average, right? That's how you tell how strong the trend is. Not with momentum indicators, right? Or tape reading. The moving average is all you really need. So it's a very strong move up. Anytime we see a strong move, what do we expect? We know it's almost, nothing's ever guaranteed, right, kids? We almost have a guarantee we're going to retest that high at some point tomorrow. Okay, what else do we know? It's a huge move. Look at the size of this thing. It's enormous, right? It's a huge move. They almost went all the way back to that big round number at 15,000 up overhead. What do we always say whenever it's a big move? It's a big move. Do you think buyers? Well, I guess in today's markets, buyers just think the market keeps on going higher all the time, right? So I guess there probably are some buyers that will buy shallow pullbacks here. But remember, if the market doesn't give us really any deep pullbacks here, that was the deepest pullback we saw all day, you have to think that buyers need to get something a little more enticing, right? They're going to want to see a deeper pullback here to attract more buyers, right? If the market starts to run higher, I'll take shallow pullbacks. I'll get aggressive on shallow pullbacks early in the move, right? But when it starts to really start to move and go and go and go, okay, that's when I go, okay, we're probably going to see either a range or we're going to see some sort of really deep pullback to attract more buyers, put some meat on the bone, right, for these buyers. And again, we could easily see both. We could see a range and a deep pullback here for tomorrow. So we've talked about a lot of this already, right? We talked about what a two-legged pullback might look like here, right? The up and over and buying it from there. We've talked about what a deep pullback, which is what I hope we get tomorrow. Deep pullback, right? The one try, the two try. And again, there's a couple variations, right? Traps off that low, trend lines off that low, stops getting run. And then into, of course, right, that little tiny trap entry, because once you fool people on those deep pullbacks, right, and that failure, it loves to snap and just rip higher, and you don't want to chase it. You don't want to chase it going higher here, right? The objectives up there, traps are great when you're trying to, retest that high, but you don't exactly want to buy too high, right? Great spot there for a trap. And again, if they pull back, If they hold that pullback, right, this is the key, not just try to go lower, but if they really start to push lower now what do? If we jump off that moving average, now what? Yeah, now we know, right? Now we know. Find that low. Mark up your channel. Think about where those prior swings are. Get that trap, get that failure, get that pullback combination. So almost always be just above the moving average. And again, you'll see a lot of examples of this sequence as part of that free trading course that linked up right in the upper right hand corner, right? So definitely grab that. And again, as we mentioned earlier, the size of that leg is usually the size of that leg, right? That 1, 2, 3, again, 1 leg, 2 leg, 3 leg down. Okay, so we get a pretty good idea of where the market wants to go. They're going to want to go back pretty much to that range where we came from here today. But of course, right now, we'll have to wait and see if the bears can actually get their hooks, into this thing. If we go higher here, right? If we go higher here, or should I say, right? If the let's see here. If I want to be a seller, right? Want to be a seller. We didn't talk about this in the S&P, did we? Right, we'll talk about how to short right off this high. Same thing applies on the S&P there. If we keep going higher, right? If we keep going higher, that 15,000 is a major objective. It's not a major top though. You'll notice it's not, right? So if they can push through that 15,000, it's not a major top. It's just it's a prior swing low. So you get that big range, 15,200, 15,300, if these buyers really mean business. All right, let's talk about some stuff we didn't talk about on the S&P, right? Kind of recapped it here. Again, pretty much everything we talk about the S&P can apply here right now to the Nasdaq. First of all, let's talk about how to sell it off a bounce reversal, right? Crown reversal. Okay, let's say we get that pullback. Okay, we get the rope in the bears, 1, 2, and we retest the high, right? Mission accomplished, right? Mission accomplished. The buyers got the retest. Bingo, great job. Now what? Now we have to wait and see if the buyers want to push through, or we'll wait and look for a failure off the high. Now, if I want to sell in a bear market, I'm going to have to use a 2-try rule for this. And what you really want to see is what I call a crown reversal. And that is let the buyers try twice and then try to grab a trap off of that high right there. These are a little more conservative, as you can imagine, because they're going against that trend. So again, big move up. We buy that pullback. We retest the high. Mission accomplished. Now, watch those buyers now. Do they blast right through it with a 1, 2, 3 breakout? In that case, we'll keep a party going. We'll talk about that in a second. Or do the buyers struggle? Do they try once? Do they try twice? Right? Get that little trap above that high. Find that little hidden channel. Mark off that low. Mark off that high. That's where the sweet spot is right there for that short. And then remember, once it drops like this, this is where we can start looking for that new channel that I love so much. We can draw that new trend line off that low, off that high, mark that prior swing, get above those prior swings for traps and failures and pullback combinations. Again, it's basically a 2-try failure. Okay, I call them crown reversals because a little trap off that high, right? That's another way I can sell the S&P, right? Another way, of course, I can sell the Nasdaq. Makes sense, right? So again, I can sell it if it goes 1, 2, 3, find that new channel, or, again, maybe we end up buying it off that pullback, and there's a very good chance, right? We sell off that high if that failure kicks in. Okay, that happens all the time. Or let's say maybe it goes up, we buy the pullback, it just races off that high now. Right? 1, 2, 3, same thing. Find that new channel. Remember, the key is it jumps off the moving average. That's the key, right? That's the key. Once it does, bears have control. You want that first pest, right? You want that first pullback. Okay, I'm not going to sell the first one. Again, I'm not going to sell this first pullback. We're not there yet. Okay, I need to get that crown reversal, that 2-try failure to be able to qualify the reversal. But if the bears do themselves, the bears hold that reversal for me, okay, great. Now find the new channel, hit that new channel. If there's one trade you don't want to miss, it's that first test off the high of that channel, right? In that free trading course I mentioned earlier, you'll learn about first test as the best test. right? It's a really big part of finding new channels. So that's another way I can short this thing. And again, the same thing will apply to the S&P as well. What if we go sideways here? What if we go sideways? Again, assume this also applies to the S&P. What if we go sideways in a range? What do we do in a range? There are really two ways to trade a range. One is to buy at support levels below the range. And the second is to trade the rotation up to a pendulum swing. So in other words, the amount may go below the range will oftentimes be the amount may go above the range. And I can trade my way on the way up to that pendulum swing. Okay, those are kind of the two ways that I like to trade a range. So if we get up going sideways here, anytime I see a trading range, the first thing I do is find the range. Okay, then determine where are my levels of support below the range, right? Like there, right? Trend line, like there, right? I find areas of support below the range. Then I wait for a pullback. Eventually, the buyers are going to run out of bullets. And once they do, and the market pulls back, this is your chance now to trap in the bears. Now, I am not in the business of picking bottoms, right? You always end up, kind of with a handful of you know what, right? Not a very easy job picking the bottoms. What I do is I wait for the pullback. This is so much easier, and basically you sacrifice a little bit of profit for a hell of a lot more certainty for the trade. Wait for the bears now to come in. Let them get short. Once they get short off the moving average. Now think about it. You have all their exits right here. Right? It's a bull market. Remember, bull market, very good chance we pull back and retest the high again. Right? Very good chance we see a deep pullback off the high. Why? Because it's such a big move today. So now we pull back. The bears want to sell this thing. No. We're going right back up, right into that trading range with a failure pattern. Okay. Now, I will definitely tell you, sometimes in these situations where the move is so big that day, this pullback might be really, really deep. Okay. What do you do then? You use a 2-try failure, right? You let them try once, let them try twice, right? So it all depends on how deep that pullback is. If we get lucky tomorrow, it'll be a really, really deep pullback. The bears won't hold the breakout, right? Because that's what it takes for reversal. 1, 2, 3, right? Find that new channel. You got it. If the bears don't hold it though, if they try once, they try twice, stops are right there, right? Find your trap entry, find your trend line entry. You get the point, right? And we're buying as we go back higher. Okay. Now, this is where you can easily add to your position. Now, take out a trend line, find a new trend line off the high, bring it right down to that low and grab that first pullback. This is usually going to be a trap setup. My favorites are traps right here. So again, think about it this way, right? We go up into the range, we get that really deep pullback. Again, deep pullback, shallow pullback. We'll know more once we see it, right? The bears come in, they try a couple times, depending on how deep the pullback is. Unfortunately, I can't predict everything, right? But I'll wait until we see tomorrow. And as we go higher, think about where that little trap will be, right? Find that new channel. Think about where those prior swings are. One of my favorite entries is right there. Right there. And so again, it's a failure pattern off support below the range. The range is a magnet. It fits the strategy for today, buying a deep pullback, retesting the high. This is my failure, right? And again, I don't know if this will be a trap or a failure setup or a pullback combination. You'll learn more about that stuff tomorrow. Obviously, we'll know more tomorrow in the trade room, and you can see examples of kind of how we find the channels and how we figure the entries out and when to avoid them in that free trading course. All right, that's another way to trade this thing if we go sideways here. What if we keep going higher? Right? What if we keep going higher here? This could easily happen. I think this 15,000 big round number is just too easy to pass up here, right, for the bulls. Let's say we do keep going higher here. What I would be looking for is basically a pop and a grind, right? Basically a pop and a grind. So we pop up, we start to grind higher. Anytime we see a grind right up like this, what you want to do is just simply stay patient. Remember, nobody will have a chance to buy low at this point. So it's still going to happen at some point, most likely tomorrow. Mark that trend line right up off those highs. Okay, if it starts to grind higher like this, don't be foolish and find some big channel, right? You're wasting your time. Find that trend line right off those highs, bring it right off that big low, and then again, think about where you can get down to the low of that channel around some prior swings. Remember, at this point, nothing's changed. Big move up, they're going to want to retest the high, right? Deep pullback, get underneath the moving average, traps, failures, pullback combinations, or do they really pull back deep, right? Really deep pullback. Now what do? You're roping those bears, right? Let them try once, let them try twice. Stops are right here, right? We're buying there into stops. And then again, when you get a really deep pullback, watch that trap. Watch that trap for a re-entry back to the high. 2-try failure, again, because of deep pullback, right? Trap set up on the way back up to retest those highs here. All right, that's a really easy way to think about it. This market, keeps on going higher, and be aware. It might kind of spike up overnight and go right into a range up here. So the same thing applies, right? You find your support levels, you wait for the pullback, you trap in those bears with the failure, right, and you rip it back up. Use that, right? Use that new channel, and find that pendulum swing going right, going higher here. All right. So same thing applies no matter kind of where it goes, sideways here right now. I think that pretty much covers it. If we keep going higher here, I just don't want to buy high way up here. I'd rather wait for that deep pullback and then close, kind of retest that high, get that nice juicy pullback here at some point here tomorrow. I think we've covered everything, right? I think it's very, very good idea to buy up that pullback, retest the high, and then wait. Do we see it keep going higher, or do we get that reversal, off the high here? That's definitely something on my radar for tomorrow. And remember, if it wants to keep going higher here, right? If we do get that, let's say we do get that pullback, right? And then now it starts ripping higher here again, watch out for another channel, right? So if it does kind of rip higher there, 1, 2, 3 breakout, right? Going higher, great. Find that new channel. Drill down to your faster time frame, grab that trap, grab that pullback, grab that failure setup off the faster time frame. This is a 4,000 tick chart, right? We're not going to try a 4,000 tick chart. We'll drill down to our faster time frames, and you'll learn that stuff, of course, in that video class I mentioned earlier, right? So again, buy the dip. If they can break through it, we got more coming, right? We got more coming. All right, guys? I'm sure there's something I might have missed on the S&P and the Nasdaq tonight. I'll make sure we don't miss it tomorrow, obviously, in the trade room. How about some oil? Am I as bullish on the oil as I am on the Nasdaq and the S&P? Yeah, we're definitely bullish right now, but that's about the only thing we have in common here. What's the most important factor right now on this oil? I think there probably are, probably 3 kind of components of this. Anytime we have a range, we know that ranges are kind of the most important factor. Market kind of popped up, gapped up, right? They come back to fill the gap, and they kind of got all lost, right, in this range here. They punch lower, they come back up, and now we're kind of rotating higher. This range, of course, is a magnet, right? Those ranges are a magnet. All the volume pretty much piles up right in the middle of that chart here. So we know the range itself is a magnet. We also know that the amount we go below the range is oftentimes equal to the amount we go above the range, right? And you'll notice right where we are right now. That's a very convincing argument for the bears, right? Now, right, high of day, pendulum swing. So again, the range and the pendulum swing here, they're very, very important parts of this. The second part of it, right, is the strength of this move. Okay, this is not a weak move at all. Look at how strong now those bulls were, right? This might have been a bit of a sympathy move, right? Because the S&P and Nasdaq were pushing so hard here. But you'll notice though, right? The buyers are starving right now for a pullback, right? This thing really kind of popped and just kind of grinds higher here. So you got to think, right? You really got to think. You got to think there's probably going to be a channel here, right? You got to think there's probably be buyers buying off that low, I would imagine. Okay, so that's the second thing. We have a lot of momentum here for these bulls, right? A lot of momentum right now. The buyers right now would love to buy that pullback. Again, get down around that channel low, right? Buy that pullback. Love to buy the pullback. If the market keeps on going higher, I would imagine the buyers would love to buy the pullback even more, right? Because that would clear us outside of that trading range. Now, where things get a little more interesting is up here, right? Because this is not the S&P and the Nasdaq. The S&P and the Nasdaq, right? The S&P and Nasdaq had that big all-time high, and now we're way down here, right? So the S&P and the Nasdaq, there is no difficulty to convince people right now to buy the dip, right? Because you can see there's all that open space to go back to retest the high. Oil does not have that right now, right? Oil, you're looking at pretty much, 10-year highs. You're not 10-year highs, but you're looking at it could be 10-year highs. Right? I think we saw back in 2000 and I don't recall now, but these are major tops, right? These are major tops. Obviously, the buyers would love to get to 90. 90 is a very easy argument to make right now. I'm sure a lot of people thinking we're going to 100, but 90 right now would be a good argument for the buyers here. We're only at 88. It's only $2 away. That's not a very big deal at all, right? Oil can easily do $3 or $4 in a good day. Right? But again, we're sitting right up at these major tops up here. So it's a little bit difficult to want to buy up here. We'll talk about how to buy it in a second. There are definitely some spots to get long. I would think if we go all the way back down, I would think there's buying off the lows. Absolutely. The range is the magnet. I'm not a huge fan of buying this pullback right here. I can see why some people would. Again, you've got that channel. I can see why people would want to take that trade. Not my idea of a good trade. I'd rather wait for it to retest and short that sucker off the high. It's just a more reliable, more probable trade. I do think, though, if these buyers can keep on going here, break through this pendulum swing, and really get a good, good pop going higher, it's going to be difficult to want to short, right? Well, we know that the odds are going to be very, very good that we're going to see buyers come in, retest that high at least. And so I definitely think if we can get this thing to keep going higher, I definitely think there's some money to make on the pullback. And I also think there's money to make on the reversal, right? Off of that high. Again, because you expect them to retest the high. They may not keep going, right? But that's kind of what I'm looking at here as my favorite trades here for the oil. So what if we go up? What if we go down? If we go down. Now, if we go lower here, if you want to be a buyer on this, I would use a 2-try failure, right? 1, 2, just because you get the range below you, right? So 2-try failure and then buying it right back up from there, okay? To be a seller, what I'd like to get, though, is that crown reversal. Right? Here's a couple ways to sell this thing off the highs like this. One would be we basically get that classic 2-try failure, right? The buyers try once, the buyers try twice. Again, I grab my trap. So that trap, I find my hidden channel off that high, right? That's where the sweet spot is. Okay, remember, a lot of momentum, so you really want to let those buyers try a couple times here. I'll use the 2-try rule here. Okay, 2-try failure. And then if this thing can drop for us right off of this high now we can start having the fun, right? Now we can trade the rotation. Now the big objective is the amount above, the amount below, right? You don't need me to draw that. It's pretty much right back that area down there, right? 86.30 and change. And so at that point now we grab our short with that 2-try failure. We then find that new channel off the low, right, up to the high. We drill down to find that trap, that failure, that pullback combination, right? Same thing we talked about so many times already tonight, off that high, right? Trap, failure, pullback combination, right? We know where the market wants to go at that point, right? It wants to get back down to that low. Again, another which I think is probably even more likely, more probable, if you will, would be, let's say we get that pullback, right? The bears try twice, they retest that high. Now it's kind of mission accomplished, right? We know that we're expecting a big move should retest. They should. Again, I don't like to be a buyer at the high of a range. This doesn't really fit my strategy. That's why I say it's not my favorite trade for tomorrow. But if those buyers do come in and retest the high, then we see bulls try once, bulls try twice. See, now this one's a whole lot more probable because now, or let's say, it's more likely this short works, right? Because we've now, big move up, we've retested the high, mission accomplished. Now let's look to dump it back down in. Buyers try once, buyers try twice. All the stops are sitting right below that low. Do I get lucky with a trap, right? Or a hidden channel? Again, same thing we talked about already, right? Get that drop, right? Get that nice strong signal for that two-try failure, that crown reversal. We then drill down, find that new channel. Remember, repeat after me, first test is the best test. You do not want to miss that channel test. Okay, whichever entry pattern we get. Again, a lot of you guys have taken that free course already, so you know the patterns pretty well. If you haven't done that already, definitely grab that link I mentioned earlier in the upper right-hand corner, right? Two-try failure, and then again, we'll see what we get off the top of that channel as we go. Those are two ways to sell it as we go. Or let's say we do get a pullback. Let's say these bears, they say, heck with the reversal, let's do this. And they hold it and they jump and run lower. You know where the market wants to go now. Now it's just a matter of finding that new channel, right, and getting in off that first test, right? Whichever one of the entry setups that we get. We don't just blindly sell, right? We don't just blindly sell. We wait for that 1, 2, 3. We then find the new channel. We get above the moving average. We trap in those buyers in this case, right? And we sell it back down in. Same idea there as over here. Nothing's different, right? Nothing's different. So we're going to definitely watch that for that reversal here. We may certainly see this thing go sideways up here. It is very common for a range to get a very strong breakout, if you will, and then go into a range up here. Right? Don't be surprised. Could be here, could be here. At any point we go sideways, what do? You find levels of support below the range. You don't pick those bottoms because it makes you smell like you know what, right? And you look for what? Trap in those bears, right? And buy into those stop losses. Mark up that pendulum. That's where they want to go. Find that new channel. And what is it? First test is the best test. You got it. First test is the best test. Failure, again, could be a trap, could be a failure, could be a pullback combination off that channel low. We know where the market wants to go at that point. All right, guys. What if we keep going higher? Again, this is the one where it's going to be a lot easier for me to justify, right, being a buyer on this. Let's say now the market continues to grind higher here. Okay, yes, now we've broken the pendulum. Broken pendulum, broken trading range. Yes, I will definitely say there's a lot of resistance up there, but there's also a lot of momentum. The key is going to be drawing that channel nice and tight. And again, this illustration may not do it justice here right now, but finding that channel low. Remember, big move. Wait for a deep pullback or a trading range, right? Might be a range here too. What I want to do is, if it keeps on grinding higher here, what I really want is to stay patient, wait for that nice deep pullback, get underneath the moving average, get those bears to try a couple times, because again, there's a range below us, and then hit them right where it hurts by right into those stop losses. All right, guys? And then, of course, from there, we'll wait and see, right? Do they retest the high and then 1, 2 back down, right? Or do they keep going, right? Do they go up, hold the pullback, and go? And then what do? You do it all over again. You find a new channel. You get the point, right? I'm a big fan of finding new channels every time we make those highs, right? So as we're making new highs, I'm finding new trend lines, I'm finding new channels, and I'm waiting for the pullback. As we make new highs, I'm finding new trend lines, I'm finding new channels, and I'm buying that first pullback, right? That test off the low of it. All right. And we get a pretty good idea of where the market's going to want to go if it keeps going higher, right? I think 90 is a pretty easy, a pretty easy objective here. Now, guys, there definitely will be a lot more for us to talk about tomorrow in our trade room, but hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of what I'm looking for. I think the one kind of thing I haven't covered yet here so far would be, what if we did get that reversal back down to that low? How would you buy down here? Remember, one of the best things to think about is as we go lower, if it goes lower on strength, let them retest that low, right? Remember, strong move, let them retest that low, and then use that two-try failure. 1, 2, stops are right here now, run back. You got it, right? Failure, find that new channel, right, and go. What I don't want you to do is try to buy right into that big move down. Right? Because a lot of times what will happen is again, you'll get these big collapse off the high. It's a very strong move down. Let them retest and then look for that move going back up into that trading range. That'll be what I'm looking for tomorrow off the lows. Obviously, tomorrow morning, we'll do it together in the trade room, starting off at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And speaking of which, hope I'll see you there. We've had a great start to the year so far. Got a brand new month kicking off tomorrow with no better way to learn and earn than doing it with me in the trade room. I'll put all the important links, the membership links, the free course links. I'll tell you right now, if you're sick and tired of missing the big move of the day, if you're fed up with losses that take back your gains, if you're making too many mental mistakes, if you're lacking confidence, right? If you're short on confidence and long on anxiety over trading, our trade room is built for new traders to learn, to earn, and do it right there with me. I'll put all the links below the video tonight. Again, grab those links. I'll see you tomorrow morning at the opening bell. If not, make sure you grab the free course, learn the setups. I'll be here if you guys have any questions. Drop those questions for me in the comment section below. And by now, I would hope you've hit that like button a couple times by now. Right? If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. We're coming more tomorrow, same time, same place. Guys, my name is Joseph. How about those games this weekend, right? How about those games this weekend? I can't think of a better last six games football I've ever seen. Incredible sports on. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But I'm out of here for now. Now we got to wait 2 weeks to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a great game, though. Can't believe it. Who you got? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm definitely going with the Bengals. I know I live in LA. I know I would love the hometown guys, but I'm an underdog. I'm an underdog type of guy. So I say go Bengals. I know my family's not going to talk to me the next few weeks here, but I'm definitely a big fan of the underdog in this one. Who you got? Let me know in the description. Let me know in the comment section below. Let's get out of here, though. Have a great rest of your night. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.